Hello and welcome. My name is John Wyer. I'm the EMEA Solutions Marketing Manager, and I'm joined by my colleague Daniel Dombach. Daniel, do you introduce yourself quickly?
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Daniel Dombach. I'm part of the European Solution Sales Organization in Zebra, and I'm responsible for manufacturing and transportation logistics solutions.
Thanks, Daniel. And today we're going to be covering the topic that nothing is more constant than change: how to work smarter, not harder, in the supply chain. So we're all shoppers. We all have our kids shop online constantly. You know, they've grown up in this kind of environment. You know, and that's really starting to cause disruption within the supply chain. You know, customer expectations are forcing change. And I wonder, Daniel, can you give us a little bit more insight into this?
Yeah, with pleasure. So, well, I call this slide the 5V slides because you see the terms velocity, volume, variety, visibility, and value. If we just reflecting what all of us are doing, we're all online shoppers to some extent, and we all like the ease of doing things, and of course the speed of delivery. When a couple of years ago we were happy with, well, same week delivery or 2-3 days delivery, that is no more the case today. All of us expect at least next day delivery. And if you're shopping for something and you get 2 different vendors and one is shipping tomorrow and the other one next week, you probably certainly pick the one that's shipping tomorrow. However, that of course introduces a couple of challenges. If you really want to deliver next day, you need to have real visibility about your entire inventory. Where is which product, and do I have the infrastructure in place to deliver it in time? Which means I need to take certain actions to improve my operations from yesterday's operations, delivering within a week, into delivering next day, or maybe even same day, which we're seeing in some areas today as well. Hand in hand with that, the volume of shipments, the number of shipments we're seeing is going up dramatically as well. And that as well has implications too. Just think about peak season, think about Black Friday or Cyber Week, as we call it in Europe, or think about the seasonal business around Christmas or Easter time, where people shopping are even more online. So the amount of shipments in these periods is going up dramatically, and companies have a real need to have more workers in those times. So we see lots of temporary workers being hired, maybe in a period from October to January timeframe, to really match the need. And with some companies and some customers, we learned that up to 30% additional staff is being hired, which brings another challenge here. You need to get these people up to speed. Working in a complex environment using modern technology requires training, and you will see a little later in a couple of minutes that the effort to onboard staff and get them fully up to speed and fully operational is up to 4.5 weeks, and that is due to a couple of reasons, and we'll come to those ones as well. So the challenges coming from that is labor shortage, as we can see here. Finding new workers in some areas is really, really difficult, and onboarding is really, really difficult. In order to be still very effective, you need to improve your operations big time. And that's what we're seeing at Zebra quite a bit, going to customers and talking about what are your processes and how can we make these processes better, smarter, faster, easier, cheaper, safer, something like that. And of course, that goes hand in hand with technology.
And I guess these times as well, obviously we're all ordering online at the moment, aren't we? So I think, you know, we're certainly seeing a huge amount of demand on the online side of things.
Yes, correct, absolutely. And as I was saying, the expectation is you want everything for free and you want it as fast as possible. And of course, that plays into returns management as well. Everybody's expecting to return the shipments if you don't like it. And especially in garment shipment and garment shopping, we see up to 50% of all items that have been ordered online might go back because people just order two items, maybe different sizes, different colors, and they just keep one. That, of course, brings lots of challenges for the logistics companies as well. You need to receive it, you need to check it if it's still in good shape. Maybe you need to reimburse the customer. Maybe you need to redirect it immediately to send another customer who wants to have it. So all these things, the speed, the volume, the visibility about your inventory, and the value and the variety play an important role these days in the strategy of companies going forward.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. And I guess, you know, we're seeing that, aren't we? I mean, at Zebra here, we ran a warehouse vision study. We went out and talked to about 1,400 organizations, you know, various individuals within those. And you know, we're seeing, you know, some really interesting statistics come out of that study. And Daniel, if we take a look here about the average size of warehouses and distribution centers.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was one of the key learnings here. When I was saying we want to have next day delivery, that means we need to be really, really close to the end customer, which results in having more warehouses and even bigger warehouses. And as you can see, the numbers here for the EMEA region, we're expecting to have 26% more warehouses within the next 5 years, from now on next 4 years. We did this study in summer 2019, asking customers, what are you doing today and what are your plans up to 2024? And this is the result here. So you see more warehouses and bigger warehouses to be closer to the customer and to match that demand.
Yeah, I certainly see that. Certainly when I, you know, drive around the country, yeah, it's amazing the rise of the warehouses. Obviously, I guess you build a brand new warehouse, or you increase the size of the warehouse. And you mentioned about the challenges with kind of, you know, staffing. You know, I wonder if you could walk us through some of this information here from the study.
Yeah. So. This is just another one of the findings of this study. And by the way, this study is publicly available. You can retrieve it from your account manager or channel account manager, or go to zebra.com and download it there. So the question is, why are companies building more warehouses, and why are they building bigger warehouses? Well, you see the top 3 answers. It is faster response to the customer. We want to be closer to the customer, and I can only do that if I'm close by. If I need to transport a good for about 500 kilometers to reach the customer next day, that's probably impossible. And then companies are growing as well. So organizational growth and increased sales, that plays an important role, in customer satisfaction as number 3 in here, being really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess, you know, we did mention that onboarding side of things as well.
Yeah, when I saw these figures for the first time, I was a little bit shocked. I didn't expect it to be 4.5 weeks to onboard a new worker and fully train him. And you see the different areas in here of the different functionalities. Well, part of the reason is many warehouses still operate relatively old WMS systems, and then the devices they use for scanning and for doing the tasks are running Windows CE or Windows Mobile operating system. And then you have a character mode terminal. So you have these well-known black screens with the little green letters. You have a relatively complex menu structure. You have lots of function keys, and it's really difficult to learn to work with these devices. So Zebra's answer to that is we need to transform all these devices in the warehouse to a different operating system, into a different operating system that is easier to work and easier to deal with, like, for example, Android. And that's one of the findings we're having. In 2019, we saw 50% of all device shipments Zebra did into warehouses were running an Android operating system, which is relatively easy to operate. Everybody nowadays is using a smartphone, whether it's an Android or an Apple iOS, what doesn't really matter. You understand the concept of a touchscreen and of context-sensitive menus. So it's a lot easier to use these devices, and training the people is a lot easier.
I think it proves accuracy as well. I mean, if like say, you know, with the context sensitive side of things, you know, you can lead those workers through a particular path, and the chances of error are much less than, as you mentioned, with the really complicated keypads, many functions. So definitely huge improvements there. And
absolutely.
What if you could touch on a little bit the sort of the balance of automation for the frontline workers?
Yeah. So, well, getting a new device with a modern user interface with a touchscreen is just one side of the coin. The other one is companies are looking how can I automate parts of my processes? And this is another answer of within the warehouse vision study we did last year. You can see 39% of companies are saying they're looking into partial automation. So parts of the processes will have elements of automation in there, whether that is any kind of robots or cobots. That would be one thing. The other 34% is augmentation, that is equipping workers with new kind of devices, new wearables with different functionality and different easy way of working, and we will see an example in a couple of minutes of this one as well.
Yeah.
16% still say full automation. I'm a little bit skeptical on that number. I cannot imagine an existing operating warehouse for quite a while going fully into full automation. Maybe if you're building a complete new warehouse, and maybe if you have a limited number of SKUs and limited number of form factors, robots could do all the work in a warehouse, or it could be fully automated. The majority of cases still will have a mix of that, of workers and automation.
Yeah, I guess it's making that sort of transition, simple and not have to do everything all at once. Obviously, technology as well. We've talked a lot about the technology. So what about that decision making? Their plan to invest.
Yeah, so we're saying we need more. There will be more warehouses and bigger warehouses, which means I need more workers, and with that I need more technology. So in the hands of the workers in the warehouse, there will be a lot more handheld mobile computers, which include scanning functionalities as well, and barcode scanners and ruggedized tablets. And we see a huge growth in mobile barcode and thermal printers as well. And you can see those numbers here. Growth rate up to 60% in 2024, and wearable computers up to 62%. So that is a very, very clear trend we're seeing these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, indeed. So all of that, I guess going back to, I guess our increased shopping habits and the way we purchase, that is, increasing these demands on the supply chain. Just wonder if you could talk us through this.
Yeah, so we're just summarizing what we just said. So the freight volume is going up, so more items need to be shipped in a faster time. The cut time is going down. People expect the shipment at least next day, if not same day in some very specific areas. And we talked about labor availability. There is a dramatic shortage, especially in Western European countries, to find new workers. And we talked about the long and painful time to educate and train these people to get up to speed. So it's all about understanding the processes, introducing new solutions to have a more efficient way of working in a warehouse. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So what solutions do we have to offer that can certainly help, with this increased demand and reducing that impact and creating more efficiency?
Yeah. So other than just introducing a new device with better specifications, it's all about introducing complete solutions. And specifically in supply chain and logistics, there's quite a bunch of solutions here. Starting with the very right-hand side, yard management. We learned from the warehouse vision studies that up to 50% of existing customers don't use any kind of yard management solution in their operations. So they don't know which trucks are arriving, where are they parking, what are they loading, and so on. That is something we can very easily address. There is a dedicated solution from Zebra called MotionWorks Yard, which is our yard management solution. It's very powerful and very competitive in the market. This is the very starting point here. So once the trucks are then inside the yard, maybe they're coming in, this is the inbound side, we have a solution called Smart Pack Trailer, which is a solution which is monitoring the loading or unloading process of trucks. So when it's loading, it would be outbound. When it's unloading, it's inbound. So the truck arrives, you open the doors, and then you start unloading. And we're measuring how much is in there, and how many items are in there, and how much space was used, and how much time are workers active at this dock door, and how much time are they inactive. And as well, if you are loading the truck, how much space are you using? How much space are you wasting? How much space is left once the last item is going in there? And again, idle time plays an important role here. The concept is very clearly that we're analyzing what's going on. So if something is going out of its normal routine, the supervisor will get a notification. Let's take an example. Maybe a truck is 50% loaded. That's what the system is telling him. And the supervisor knows, or he knows from the backend system, from the transportation management system, or from the WMS, this truck has a service level agreement with an end customer, say in 2 hours, and we know he needs to drive 100 kilometers, and you're only 50% full. You probably will face a problem because you won't leave the warehouse in time to go on your journey and make those 100 kilometers to be in time with the end customer. So the supervisor will get a warning that something's going wrong at this specific dock door, and he can take corrective action. Maybe he's assigning more workers to that, or he's calling the customers, we're going to be late, whatever that is. In the nature of solutions, it's of course very, very unique for each and every customer. Every customer has its own key performance indicators, what really needs to work, what are critical measures and critical figures, and they all will have different thresholds for warnings and alerts. So we will configure and install these solutions really based on the customer needs, understanding what he's trying to do. We want to quantify the improvement, and we want to quantify the improvement in dollar value as well, which means we will be working with the customer towards a return on investment statement.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think, we've got Workforce Connect here as well. So I think communication between all of the employees throughout the warehouse or wherever, and I guess getting that insight as well into the sort of, I guess, the health of the devices with things like visibility IQ, I think certainly key.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a very, very valid point. So having communication between all the workers is really essential, and Workforce Connect is available for Zebra's Android devices in the warehouse. So you should definitely use that. Maybe let me give you a little example. I was just recently visiting a customer, and we were observing the process, and there was a picker who was picking, and he came to a location where nothing was stored, by mistake maybe. So I asked him, so what do you do if that happens? He said, well, I get off my forklift, I walk to the end of the warehouse, I talk to the supervisor and tell him he needs to replenish that specific storage location. And then he goes back and continues his work. Well, he's carrying a mobile terminal anyway, so why not activate Workforce Connect, and he can do a one-on-one call with the supervisor and give this information immediately. So increasing efficiency immediately. Just an example for Workforce Connect, for example, in warehouses.
Yeah, such a simple solution. Just conscious of time, Daniel, I just wonder if you could walk through then the change, obviously what we're seeing between warehouse 1 and 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was saying before, we see in warehouse 1.0, we see lots of companies operating traditional warehouse management systems where the devices use their terminal emulation, and you have the character terminals. You remember the black screen with the green letters and the complex menu structure and lots of function keys. So that is very inflexible and doesn't really give you the ability to improve your processes in a warehouse. We want to go to warehouse 2.0, where we have modern user interfaces and modern devices, and where we can group tasks and jobs within the warehouse for different workers. Maybe we go one step forward. So starting again in warehouse 1.0, you see there is a WMS or an ERP system, whatever that is, and you're using a device, maybe with the character terminals. On the path to warehouse 2.0, you could have a step in between. We call that 1.5, warehouse 1.5. We'll be using a certain solution which would take the stream of information, go into the device, and transforming it into a graphical user interface at runtime. So you don't have to change your WMS, you're just using this piece of technology, and all of a sudden you can use a touchscreen device. This could be third-party solutions, for example, like Stay Linked, or in Zebra, we have a dedicated solution called Fulfillment Edge. Now in Warehouse 2.0, Fulfillment Edge becomes even more powerful. What we would do here is we would analyze the WMS, maybe all the jobs for today that are supposed to be done in a warehouse. So we load that from the WMS into the Fulfillment Edge server. and then we're analyzing all the jobs. And we can group jobs. Maybe a picker is doing various picks, and we understand a couple of orders have very similar products, a similar storage location. We could put that together. So we could move this worker, for example, from a single pick job to a multi-order picking. And that is completely transparent for the WMS. The WMS would believe there are two pickers on their way. In reality, Fulfillment Edge will enable one picker to do two picks at the same time. And then, of course, it will use modern devices here as well. You can see wearable terminals, you can see a ring scanner, you see graphical user interfaces, and you also see data glasses here, which we call the head-up display.
Yes, the HD 4000, the heads-up display. I mean, I was lucky enough to visit our distribution center in Heronvane last year, so pre-launch of all of this, and we did a short trial. And I think not only the efficiency of the picking, but I think, as to the point earlier, the onboarding very quickly. You know, we tried new pickers and experienced pickers, and they really got to grips with this really quickly, and actually really enjoyed using it as well. So I think the efficiency gains are obvious to see. So yeah,
absolutely.
Just looking at the HD 4000. Can you walk through some of the features of that, please, Daniel?
Yeah. So you can see it here. So if you look at the picture at first, what you see is some kind of standard security glasses, and on top there's a clip-on. And the clip-on carries a little prism, and this prism is connected via an USB cable to your computer, to a wearable terminal, WT6000 or any other terminal with a USB port, which means it's just the security glasses and this little clip-on, which, by the way, weighs 30 grams. So there is no weight impact to the glasses. All the computing power is done by the computer that you're carrying, maybe on your belt. And all the operating power is coming from that battery as well. And as you're connected via a cable, of course, you don't need a Bluetooth radio or a Wi-Fi radio. So everything is done with the device, which makes it really, really easy to work with this device. You don't have additional weight. Since you don't have a computer on your head, there is no heat generated. So it's really convenient to work with that. And it will display the working information in your line of sight. So you get your both hands free. Maybe you're carrying a ring scanner as well on one of your fingers. You see your work instructions and you just follow the graphic instructions in your line of sight. It's a see-through module, so you're seeing through it, but you see all the other environment as well. So you're fully aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah, I think that also fits over prescription glasses as well. There's different varieties of this on there, so everybody can use it.
Absolutely.
So just switching gears, I think, looking towards, I guess, yesterday and today.
Yeah, that's a good point. So intelligent automation plays an important role. And early on, we saw that some warehouses are looking to do a little bit of automation in their operations. And here are three examples. So let's look at the top row first. On the left-hand side, you see somebody pushing a trolley with a couple of boxes in there, and he's picking, or she is picking to these boxes. Looks like she's wearing a clipboard with a sheet of paper. So that's the old-fashioned way of doing it. The modern way would be you would have this device just below. When we're looking at low-cost robotics, you would have a little droid who's moving autonomously through the warehouse, carrying a tablet, and the picker is now stationary, and maybe he's in charge just for these two aisles, and the device is coming to him. He's checking what he wants by reading from the tablet. He's picking the items, scanning them, and confirming, and this little robot will move to the next picker somewhere in the warehouse. Or look at the middle picture about fetch robotics. Especially in cross-docking, you need to move pallets from one end to the other end and move here and there. That takes a lot of time, and workers need to do long-distance walking here. So having a little robot which is capable of carrying pallets is one of the answers here. So putting the pallet on this little robot, and it's making its way to the final destination and lifting it off again. Or if you see the sortation belt, the lady having a sortation belt with lots of boxes and lots of parcels, and she needs to pick them and put them into certain areas. Plus One Robotics has created a dedicated solution to recognize the shape of a box, of an object, and have a little robot arm which is capable of grabbing it and putting it away. So yesterday is the top line, and today and tomorrow is the bottom line we can see here. Zebra has a very close working relationship with all three of those. So we also have used some venture capital to support these companies, and we're a close cooperation, and we're going together in projects together with our customers.
Yeah, I think definitely exciting times now and ahead. I mean, I think, you know, I guess the whole background to this presentation is, you know, we are seeing this amazing change and you know, the way people are sort of impacting the supply chain. And I think, you know, hopefully everybody's seeing with some really exciting technology, you know, to really help improve that efficiency and productivity within, you know, that supply chain, warehouse, transport, logistics. Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining me on this presentation. And thank you to everyone else for listening. And we'll hopefully speak to you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And if there are more questions, feel free to reach out to us.